Hello everyone and welcome to a new video. It's gonna be a different video from usual, also I'm sorry if my voice is kinda weird, but I'm still recording from a flu. I still have a cold, so but I wanted to share my feelings about Dead by Daylight right now and some topics that I've seen mainly on Twitter. And I think it's really important to try to understand where behavior and Dead by Daylight are going right now. So let's start from Chucky. There are many things to say here, but let's start from Chucky. Chucky was very well received in the PTB by both older and more recent players, and basically everyone loved him. Everyone thought that finally we got a killer who looked mainly fun to play as, who could be interesting to play against, something different, but at the same time close to the typical gameplay of Dead by Daylight, or loops, dashes, and stuff like that. Usually dashing killers are really well appreciated. The only problem recognized with Chucky was Scamper, especially Scamper under a pallet. And this was something that they changed immediately. This was kind of positive. So yeah, at the beginning it looked like they were doing something with Chucky that could be the best and most interesting for the world community. Then something happened with the patch 7.4.2, where they recognized as a bug or an issue bypassing the 90-degree camera lock with the Chucky. So this means that you couldn't 180 flick anymore. And this created some sort of concerns in the community and made me think a lot about the current balancement and gameplay design of Dead by Daylight. It's the mainly problematic side, or recognized as that of Chucky, so scampering outside of Slice and Dice, got basically untouched. While the 90-degree camera lock with Chucky, that was something that only a few people were able to do, that required a certain amount of experience and skill. It offered a deeper gameplay that wasn't just scampering and then activating Slice and Dice. And a more interesting gameplay for both sides. At least from the most experienced players, this was the feedback. The point that really good players like Numinous and Ranikan, I think even Chromes, but I'm not sure about that, but Al, Ranikan and Numinous kinda completely dropped the Chucky, because after the removal of the flick, it looked like his gameplay was too basic to keep investing on it. We are gonna come back to the Chucky topic and stuff, but it's really interesting to keep this in mind, how basically the hardest trick got removed while the easier and most rewarding play was left there, and basically if you are a Chucky player, playing safer now is the way. Even if you don't want to, even if you would like to go for fancy stuff, the easier play is the most rewarding, also because Chucky has the problem that has a really long cooldown. I explained a lot of the problems and opportunities of Chucky in the official forum of behavior. So I'm gonna link it to this video, and if you want to leave your feedback, you can reply to it. We're gonna go back to Chucky. Other stuff that changed this year, actually, or recently actually made people worried for other kind of skill expression. We are speaking mainly of killer, but like on the survivor side, you add also stuff like flashlight saves made easier, with flashlight saves also being even easier thanks to the buff to background player, because now the positioning doesn't really matter before a flashlight save, and like killers have even less counterplay at the point that Lightborn is starting to become a kinda fair perk in a background player meta. And like I would never imagine I would say that, but like basically, if before you will say, oh, but just pay attention, like then look to the opposite direction. Like unless you have a wall, and even with a wall, if they have a flashbang, like you can do nothing. Like you have no counterplay to flashlight saves if background player is in. They have to just mess up. Like it's only on the survivor side to mess up, and like it, considering that the buffering of the flashlight saves that they gave us recently, and considering this, like basically you shouldn't miss a flashlight save, and like that removes too much pressure from a killer, in my opinion. But then, like, we had other reworks this year. Like, I already spoke of the Skull Merchant rework, so I don't want to go too deep in it. But, like, even if I repeat, like, I'm happy that this Skull Merchant is in the game instead of the previous one, because, like, the previous one was used in a really unhealthy way from some players. Like at the same time, it completely removed the deeper mechanics that many Skull Merchant players were enjoying over there. Like the macro management, for example. Like a killer that basically was all around macro management as a 4.6 with no mobility. I think it was an amazing idea. Like, ironically, like what people always say about Skull Merchant being good at regen, actually I thought that their power allowed there to basically know if you were good at counting and everything, at knowing the progresses of all gens and what were the goals that were being attacked, while in the meanwhile having the time to chase, unfortunately tied to two add-ons. So instead of leaving the drone like as a tracking tool and giving an extra power for chases, like they basically removed the wall macro management stuff. So like she's not a tracking killer anymore, or the tracking is really limited. And then the chasing part like was made even stronger, like with less thinking process from the killer side. Like that really made me drop interest for the killer, unfortunately. Like I love her as lore and everything. I hope that they are gonna change it again in the future so I can play her again, because I love the character of the Skull Merchant, but like this gameplay. It's after a long period of test, like didn't really got me, unfortunately. Now let's speak of the Trickster. The Trickster is another killer that got reworked recently. Trickster is a kind of interesting topic because Trickster is or wasn't even an hard killer. It was just a killer who struggled to get results. And the really skilled Trickster were like people like Bnorkater. Sorry, Bnork. I don't know why they hate you. And Worthright with single knife shots that are really impressive. But at the same time, like they strictly buffed this killer and like made it a lot easier. Like there are things that are fine, because like removing the recoil entirely, like it's kind of fine for accessibility reasons, like controller, like physical limits. Like I repeat, I'm all in for accessibility. Like I think that accessibility should be the first focus of every team. But at the same time, like one thing is accessibility that is a plus for everyone, and another thing is a gameplay design that is has a little to do with accessibility and more to do with making like the players feeling more rewarded for lower efforts. I think that the feeling of being rewarded in this game is what drives a lot of people actually. Like we don't even realize how some things are basically a easier reward than we actually thought while we were getting the play. So, what is my concern about the Trickster? The problem of the Trickster is like at the beginning, like they had a PTB where basically the Trickster looked a really bit too much overtuned, and like they kinda reverted a lot of this stuff. Then with the first patch after the PTB, they reverted a lot of stuff. 3 blades per second. The main event was I don't know if bugged or what, but like the throw rate was slower, and like there were other problematic things related to the power. Then with the 7.4.2 patch, it happened something like they buffed other stuff that we expected to happen. I don't think that this was necessary, to be honest, increasing the duration of main event, but it is what it is. The throw rate, okay, and basically they are kind of reverting throws of the knives again. Now, what's the problem? My main problem was this, like I reverted the time before laceration starts decaying to 15 seconds, because like this point was shown as, sorry, to keep this feeling fair for survivors, we have increased the laceration meter to 8 hits, okay, this was kept, as well as decreased the time before it decays to 10 seconds, was 15. This means that the laceration meter will feel at the same rate as before, but successfully dodging blades will be a little more rewarding. We already know how basically impossible, kinda impossible is to dodge the Trickster knife, and like they thought that making the decay to 10 seconds would allow to the counter, but in that way it was working. Like people were able to make the decay actually going lower, completely negating it if by playing in a certain way, like using the check spots to avoid the free knife hit and stuff like that, especially considering that now is a 4.6 killer. Or taking distance, like, you know, the typical things that as a survivor you can do. But like by reverting this to 15, like they basically said, okay, what we did for the survivor experience to be better against this killer was completely deleted. Everything else is in. So at the end, like they didn't make the experience for the survivors better, but that they just strictly buffed him. Because like if the only way that actually worked was this, and like it was still a gameplay that wasn't perceived as really engaging by the survivors, but at least they could do something more, especially by looking at all the buffs that the Trickster got. Like reverting this basically look like, okay, you know what, we just buffed the Trickster. And like it feels so confusing. Like it feels like they made the easy killer even easier, and like I'm kinda confused by the whole Trickster situation. Now let's go back to the good guy. Why I chose to start from Chucky and then closing with Chucky. Like Chucky, as many of you know, like is my new killer main, and like as many others, like I fell in love with this killer before for the gameplay. Then, out of curiosity, I started watching the movies, the TV show, like, and I loved it. So now I'm even a fan of the franchise, and like I watched everything, even some of the movies more time already. Like I really enjoy the character, and there is a problem though. Like, as many, I fell in love with the gameplay. Like, I was starting the flicks, it was my first dashing killer. I was so excited to play my first dashing killers after so many years of DBD. And, like, I was starting to learn the flicks and stuff like that. With the 7.4.2 patch, they removed the flicks. And, like, this basically created that situation that I was saying. Like, it's like the gameplay of the good guy, Chucky, that I got too simple and lost a bit of deepness. And since RGB shared this clip of scampering a window in a Slice and Dice, I've seen a lot of reactions on Twitter. And it's kind of confusing because, like, basically this is a granted it, like, there's not a lot that the survivor can do. At the same time, like, I think that if you normal vault and then activate a Slice and Dice and then activate IDO, like, it should still be possible to get this hit, because, like, even if it's a bit longer, like, she wouldn't reach anything. Like, maybe her only choice was to go there. But, like, basically this is a free hit. And, like, there are, like, this is what was confusing, like, the 180 flicks were perceived as unfair, even if you can dodge a 180 flick, because, like, for example, if you're here, like, imagine that you're going for Slice and Dice, you know? Slice and Dice before scampering this window. And then, even if you can uncap the direction, when you look at the, after the vaulting Slice and Dice, like, you look here, for example, like, then to get her here, like, you have only the flick as a possibility, you know? Let's imagine this. Unless, like, you play in another way, but, like, if you're already in a Slice and Dice, like, you cannot, like, immediately face here and stuff like that. Like, you have to think fast. But with Scamper and then Slice and Dice, like, you have all the time to play for a really safe way. And like, if you here imagine that you are in Slice and Dice and you go for a hit, like, there's one, and the 180 flick is your only possibility. Like, Zarina has more possibility. Like, once that the field of view is blocked, like, she can go far, she can keep going there, like, you know, like, the Chucky player is called at having a right call here, you know? So, or I bet that she's going directly to this direction, or that she's going here and she doesn't expect to be hit, and, like, instead I flicked, you know? Like, that added a more interesting gameplay. Like, it's a bit like Billy, you know? Like, if you expect a Billy who's going for a flick over this style, like, you take it large, you go to another direction, like, there are some things that you can do to play around of Billy was flicking here, you know? It was kind of the same with Chucky. But in this way, like, the counterplay is really limited. Tofu was really direct about this. He says that you don't understand the game enough for your feedback to matter. The problem is, like, I don't know what's a feedback that matters anymore. So, like, if there are so many players who think that this is fine, and, like, they are playing the character because this is possible, there were players who didn't want to get into Chucky, or felt better playing Chucky because, like, they couldn't go for the flicks. Like, it's like this is the feedback that doesn't matter, because their experience is fine as it is, and they don't want to see this changed. And, like, considering the recent reworks, it feels like the game wants to make it more easy and accessible for everyone. But I repeat, it's not a totally bad thing. Like, there is a difference between something being like hard in a sort of frustrating way, like I don't know, being too tricky and stuff like that, and something being hard and challenging because like it's the game itself that offers hard and challenging stuff, but while having a clear way of functioning in that way. So my idea for the rework would be to make it possible to flick, but like in an easier way for accessibility. I repeat, not only controller, but also people who have physical limits with the mouse. So because like, you know, maybe you don't, you cannot do that movement that we did with the flicks, and by uncapping the direction once that you start going for the knife hit, like maybe you can make it easier for everyone, even controller players with physical limits, like accessibility, in a few words. And I'm all on in for that. Now, let's look at the future. In general, we have solution for free gen, like a lot of the higher level gameplay. We can speak of DBD comp, but like in DBD comp, imagine that they are even limited with items and perks. But like imagine the public lobbies where actually everyone can run 4-com modules with a brand new part, or like 4-com modules with extra speed and charges, and then build to last and streetwise and whatever. But even just the modules are huge. Like if the solution for the free gen like makes it too easy, or like basically too easy for the survivor to break it, or too hard for the killer to protect it, like I think that the higher level games are going to be a problem, and like I cannot wait to see the reactions of the comp community. That some people can hate or not. Like I think that a lot of interesting things about the game can be understood only by watching some comp. Because like you see how a really coordinated team plays, how a killer who plays against a really coordinated team actually plays. Like there are all of these mechanics that actually are shown. Killer updates. Then we have the Oreo. Let's remind that she was changed recently. Like even if she was changed recently, like we are back here because the rework like wasn't the best. Like she was changed in July when Nicolas Cage came in DBD, and like it feels a bit tough because like it's like they wasted resources for a rework that didn't work. And like at this point, like it's not better to like work directly with the community to test this stuff months before the release, and like if something is not working, like just say no, let's not go with that, let's wait for the next plan, and like you know, saving time. That's why I keep asking and promoting for deeper beta testing with a dedicated community of newer and experienced players, because I think that the feedback of both sides, like I repeat, I'm all in for accessibility. Like if I see something that is too hard, like I don't have the time to learn it, like I understand that okay, I don't have the time for it, I can just launch the game when I come back home after a hard day at work. Like I don't want to like living in the idea that I need months before I can get good at this game, you know? Because like there are many kind of players in this community, as in every other community. But like if you can do it in a way that actually is interesting for both the kind of your community, and like even the player who plays casually sees the improvements and the will to getting better and better and better, doing certain kind of things. Like, I think that's the way. So accessibility should be a way to actually get into a flow that helps at getting in a deeper and deeper gameplay, and so you feel rewarded spending your time in it. But like, if your experience at 1 hour in the game feels the same of the experience after 20 hours with the same content, or even worse, after 100 hours with the same content, like, that's a problem. Like, that where you feel like, okay, I've seen everything, I'm starting to get bored of it, you know? The hillbilly, like, hillbilly is one of the base killers, not, and I'm a bit worried if the update process is something that is gonna work similarly to Chucky. Like, removing some of the skill expression to make him more accessible and a bit too easier to play. Because if he's accessible, like, you don't have to learn every collision, like the curving is a bit smoother and stuff like that, like, I think that is fine. But like, if you make it like curving is super easy, and like, you don't need to learn actually how to curve, and like, you just take the game, and like, the first game you play, like, you can curve. Like, I think that the killer lose a lot of the appeal to actually being playable by anyone. Like, this is something that I'm really curious to see how it's going to evolve. Like, I don't want to be too negative or pessimist. Like, I just trying to understand where the game is going. And then blight add-ons, like, I imagine that the double speed, the adrenaline vial, all of these add-ons are going to get changed. I don't know, like, what you think about it or not. Like, I keep thinking that nowadays, like, our feedback is not the feedback that matters, or at least it's not the only feedback that matters. Because I feel like even if you're an experienced player, even if you're out Darva, let's pick of odds, like how we felt after the last AMA, that I'll keep saying it, unfortunately was a PR disaster, because instead of cheating up the community before Christmas, like, it actually made more content creators demotivated at investing on DBD. You got a harsh reaction by a disappointed icon, because Ots is the icon, basically, Dead by Daylight. Even all the new players, the same players, you are trying to get into the game, and the content creator you know that is really good at getting new players into the flow of your game, like, that's a bad sign. So, unfortunately, that AMA was a problem, and I hope that they learned how to set up the next ones. And even Ots felt like his feedback is not mattering. And like, I feel like a clear picture of this is the reactions to Otofu, to the original thread of RGB. Like, the community is made of players who also enjoy this kind of stuff. Like, the really easy play that actually gets rewarding enough. And at this point, I'm a bit confused, because, like, or we accept Dead by Daylight as this kind of game. You get me? So, a game where it's chaotic, there are random things, you cannot take it seriously, because, like, a add-on, a perk, a power mechanic, a map, like, basically creates a situation where you can do nothing to counter it. And that's a thing. Or you take it as a competitive game, and like, that's where the MMR topics actually get into. Like, if the game works like this, why are we having a MMR? If you don't think the game has to reach that sort of competition, and has to appeal a more casual Playerbase, a newer Playerbase that cannot invest into learning the flicks, because the flicks are fair for both the killer and the survivor players. I don't think, like, especially for the survivor players, I don't think these were unfair. I can see the problems at learning this, but I mean, like, even someone who never did it, like me, actually was starting to achieving flicks really consistently. Like, it's a learning process, and like learning is, in my opinion, the salt of the life. Like, learning something new is what keeps interesting, like learning something new about something you love every day. Like studying is not is not boring as many can think. Actually, this is a personal opinion. And like, if that's the idea of the game, so basically having everything really easy, that everyone can do it and stuff like that. So basically, where the competition is really limited, but at the same time having MMR topics, trying to have a stricter MMR, because recently it felt like the MMR was stricter, then it felt like the MMR was less strict during the holidays. We're gonna see what's gonna happen in January. And then even tournaments, they had official tournaments at the point that they were following the rules so strictly that the former best team, and not because like they got outplayed and now they are not good at all. Like, that's not the thing, but like they just disbanded. Speaking of Eternal, like they got disqualified just for playing Nicolas Cage, that is a survivor, so basically just a skin, when it was a new content. So they weren't playing the perks of Nicolas Cage, they were playing just the character. And like they thought it was actually violating the rule, and like they disqualified most likely the team that will win that tournament. But that's really interesting. Like, I would just like to understand, like, what kind of game are we playing? If we are playing a game that aims at balancement and competitive, or if you are having a game that just want to be chaotic. And at that point, like, you have to work in that direction, only that direction, because like you cannot praise both sides. Because like, if I have the game, and like my idea of the game is I'm playing this game and I expect that by doing my best I'm gonna win, I expect every single part to work perfectly. And I feel like achieving that point for a game like DBD is really, really hard. If I have a chaotic game, and for fun game, I expect mainly the frustrating things being addressed, and then everything else actually feeling how can you say, more on the fun direction, so less gen perks, less double chances, more fun interaction, more perks like chemical trap, more perks like I don't know, I'm trying to think of something fun from the killer side. Superior anatomy. It's really hard, actually, recently thinking of a fun perk on the killer side, or like batteries included, even if I know that the community ate the ace effect, but I think that batteries included is one of the best designed perks around ace, to be honest. Like a lot more fair than stuff like play with your food. So that's the thing, in my opinion. I don't know, like, I would like to know your opinion, and if you want to share your opinion about Chucky, I'm gonna link the thread to the video. Like, I hope you found this kind of video interesting. I really hope that in 2024 we are gonna have a more clear communication from behavior about what game we are playing, and like what do they expect to see from their content. Because like, I think that especially for players who have a lot of hours, and I don't even mean 10k hours, like me, Otofu, Sdarva, etc. But like even someone with the 1k hours, like the game allows to have a sort of deeper and the sense of discovery that you enjoy to have while playing something, and self-improvement. Like something like, for example, I kind of have Immortal Kombat. Like today I'm picking up this character, I'm playing battle against some characters I cannot face. Tomorrow I understand that this move on my character can help me at dealing with that situation, so the next time I face that character, I'm gonna win a bit more. Like this kind of stuff. Like, and that's the cool thing, because at the end, if like you think, okay, I reached this level, I'm at this level, and I cannot do better than this because of the map, because of this. If I play optimal, I win 99.9% of my games. If I play with the full meta, I win 99.9% of my games. If I play in SWF with the best builds, like basically we're unstoppable. Like I feel like this kind of stuff becomes stale, and like the only part of the community that stays, like is gonna make the experience worse for the newer players. I don't know, like this is just free thinking. Thank you so much for watching this. We are gonna see each other in 2024. I hope to feel better already during the first days of January, and to come back to stream DBD and maybe even other games in 2024. Have a happy new year, Steve. Love you. Mwah.